Welcome to this week's edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host, Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. Coming to you from Uncharacteristic Studios. And folks, we are 1 week away from GeekCon. And I have something I want to talk about regarding a guest that's going to be at GeekCon that was just added to the list of guests a week ago. I'm going to talk about that in Comically Speaking. But for right now, it's time to give away a free t-shirt. Alright, last week's episode I asked, which U.S. state are Kitty Pryde and Beast of the X-Men from? Well, the correct answer is Illinois. Now, I gave a few hints on at the end of last week's episode and on social media. Some of those hints were Bonnie Hunt, John Belushi, Jim Belushi, Ludacris, Chance the Rapper, and Common are from cities in this state. And also, I gave another hint that a certain sports franchise won 6 championships all in one decade. That was the 90s, talking about the Chicago Bulls, which are in Chicago, Illinois. And then also, WGN. Now, I'm not talking about that WGN America that hardly no one likes. I'm talking about the original WGN, like Channel 9, for all you folks that are my age and older. Well, 11 people have answered correctly, and because they've answered correctly, their names have been entered in a drawing for a free tee, and that drawing takes place right now. So, the winner of the free tee for this week's episode of the show is Charlotte Padani from Lafayette, Louisiana. So congratulations, Charlotte, and we yourself a free Comic Hero tee. Alright, here's the question for next week's episode, and this is a Dragon Ball question, and it's very, very easy, especially if you follow Dragon Ball, if you watch the end credits to any of the Dragon Ball series, whether it be Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, or Dragon Ball Super. And also, especially if you read manga. Who created Dragon Ball? Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee in next week's episode of the show. So, I gotta ask, any questions?
Questions I walk around in. Questions I didn't thrive in. Questions I will survive in.
Alright, I have one question this week, and it's for PJ McGee from Homer, Louisiana. He asked, what do you like better, DC or Marvel? You know, that's a question that a lot of folks have been asking me for years. Now, with DC is a little better in terms of the comics, and especially over the last 2 years, when they decide to vindicate themselves from the not so successful idea of the New 52. Now, keep in mind, there were a few things about the New 52 that were actually good. They retold the origin of Cyborg, and instead of making him a member of the Teen Titans, they made him a founding member of the Justice League. That works. And the only reason I say this is I will say this to my dying breath. I always figured that Cyborg was too mature to be a Teen Titan. I mean, yeah, sure, the guy was like 16, maybe 17 or 18 years old, but he was very mature for that age. And it really showed in a lot of issues of Teen Titans dating back to his debut back in 1980. I think having him as a founding member of the Justice League works in terms of his morale. That's one of the few things about it. Now with the New 52, they didn't tell everyone's. They didn't retell everyone's origins. They kind of tweaked them. Like for example, they made instead of Guy Gardner being a school teacher, which he was in the original DC universe, or the pre-Flashpoint DC universe, as some folks call it. In the New 52, they made him a police officer. And even though they retooled things with Rebirth back 2 years ago, they still they're sticking with the origin of him being a police officer as opposed to a teacher. That kind of works. Now, the one thing to me that never really worked, there were several things that didn't work. Like they tried to reintroduce Lobo, but they made him to some skinny schmuck that nobody liked. So, and this really upset a lot of fans. So what DC did was they brought the real Lobo back, even while they were doing the New 52, and he kills this other guy. But DC, but getting kind of got a little off rail there. But DC has been doing well in terms of the comics. Marvel, on the other hand, they have been making a lot of boneheaded mistakes, in my opinion. And one of the first things that they did was they killed off Wolverine. Now, Wolverine made his debut back in Incredible Hulk number 181 back in 1974, and then the very next year became a member of the X-Men. And along the way, he's also been a member of Alpha Flight and an Avenger. And they just decided, let's just kill him off. Now, I don't know if they took the same path that DC did with Superman back in '92, but although Wolverine is back, and there's a miniseries that I'm going to start reading called The Return of Wolverine, and can't wait for that to come out. And then other things that they've done, and this is the one thing that really upset me. They canceled Fantastic Four and then disbanded the team, all because of what 20th Century Fox was doing with remaking the Fantastic Four movie franchise. The comics have nothing to do with what goes up on a big screen, and I mean that was kind of that was probably the most irrational decision that Marvel's ever made. I will say, and I'll stand by that. I don't care what anyone says. That was a very dumb thing to do, and I say that not because they were the first superhero team, that Marvel's ever had. Not because they were the first family. Not because they were at the dawn of the Marvel Universe, but mainly because that was Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's first collaboration way back in 1961. And Marvel just decided, okay, 20th Century Fox is making a dumpster fire of a movie, which it was. And so let's just cancel that out just to get back at them. Well, guess what? The movie still stunk, and you still made a piss poor decision. But, however, they're bringing them back. Although, let's just be honest, they shouldn't even cancel them in the first place. But, Marvel has been and then on top of that, Marvel, a lot of times, in terms of comics, don't really pay attention to, none of the writers and artists pay attention to each other. They just write whatever the heck they want. And, I mean, and it showed in Civil War II with Bruce Banner. Now, everyone, I mean, a lot of folks who don't, for those of y'all who don't know, before Civil War II, they did this story arc where Bruce Banner becomes the Hulk, and he tries to stop a nuclear bomb from going off, and he ends up absorbing all the radiation from the nuclear bomb. And then Amadeus Cho, in order to save his life and then the lives of other people, he says, okay, I'm going to siphon the gamma radiation from you because you've already absorbed enough radiation as it is, and I'm going to transfer it to myself. Now the way it's been told, he got a majority of it, but he didn't get it all. And I guess the only reason they told that was because of what happened in Civil War II. By the way, Hawkeye kills Bruce Banner, but Bruce Banner comes back alive during the story arc entitled Avengers No Surrender. Yeah, but that was pretty much Marvel doing damage control. Now in terms of movies, Marvel has been killing it. DC and Warner Bros. Have only come out with one good movie lately, and that's Wonder Woman. Now, but DC and Warner Bros. Have only come out with 5 good DC movies since 1978. You have Superman, Superman 2, Batman, Batman Returns, and Wonder Woman. That's it. The rest of them were not good at all. or they were good, but they didn't. There were just things about it that they could have been better. But Marvel has been coming out with a lot of great movies. There have been some that haven't really done well, like Daredevil, The Punisher, both Ghost Rider. Well, Ghost Rider, the first one was okay. Now, Spirit of Vengeance, not so much. But to answer your question, PJ, I would probably have to say, in terms of comics, DC, but not by much. But in terms of movies, and what in big screen and small screen, Marvel. Although DC and Warner Bros. Has been doing very well for the most part in on the small screen. I mean, you have TV shows like The Flash, Supergirl, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, and then hopefully they'll do it again with this upcoming Titan series coming to DC Universe. But we'll see. But again, in terms of movies, in terms of the media, Marvel. In terms of comics, DC, but not by much. All right, that's it for any questions. Now, if y'all have any questions y'all want to ask me, feel free to do so. I mean, this is a segment that I'm trying to bring back on a permanent basis. So far, this is the 4th episode that I've done with the Any Questions segment, and it can be any question pertaining to comics or anything within that realm, or it could be a question about the show. It could be no personal questions, please, or no tasteless questions. I will not accept those. All right, now D'Angelo Ballou from Youngstown, Ohio, has requested a Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fight, and this is another superhero video game character fight, and it's a real good one because these two have similar power sets, and I can't wait for y'all to see it and what I think. Representing Marvel, we have Nightcrawler. And representing Mortal Kombat, we have Noob Sabo. These two are going to duke it out in a segment I like to call
The Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown.
Welcome to the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Today, it's Nightcrawler versus Noob Sabo. Nightcrawler possesses teleportation, is a superb fencer, enhanced flexibility, speed and night vision, a prehensile tail, the ability to stick to walls, and camouflage in shadows. Noob Sabo possesses agility, berserker strength, blast power, chameleon abilities, dark force manipulation, darkness manipulation, duplication, escape artist, immortality, magic, necromancy, intangibility, shadow melding, shapeshifting, siphoning, enhanced stamina, stealth, teleportation, and is skilled at unarmed combat. Who will win? To say that a lot of teleportation would take place in this fight would be stating the obvious. The two couldn't get a hold of each other because they both use teleportation. Nightcrawler thinks it's funny, but Noob Sabo is extremely frustrated. He then magically strips Nightcrawler of his powers and beats him within an inch of his life. He then hears a voice saying, "Finish him," and he does so by sapping the life out of him via necromancy. Noob Sabo wins, and that concludes this fight on the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed that fight. If you have fight requests for future episodes, contact info is down there. Alright then, it's time for Comically Speaking, so without further ado, let's talk comics! Alright, there are going to be 3 things we're going to talk about in this segment of Comically Speaking, and the first thing is something that I was kind of hinting on or kind of talked about, but very briefly. And this was, I think, 2 weeks ago when I talked about this. It's Young Justice Outsiders. It's which is pretty much season 3 of Young Justice. Now, the first 2 seasons of the show have been on Cartoon Network, but DC has recently launched their new online network called DC Universe, and it's going to be premiering on that. But I want y'all to check out this trailer. Take a look.
All right. Hey, Bruce Lee, I'm up. I'm up. All right, I'm coming.
This is Kat Grant reporting live from the Markovian Royal Palace.
Meta-human trafficking is an international scourge. Children and teens are being abducted.
The way our daughter was abducted.
There's a meta-human trafficking syndicate in Markovia that we can shut down with your help.
Itzy, bien!
When it's all over, we go our separate ways. No muss, no fuss.
Prince Brion, you tested positive for the meta gene. Princess Tara would likely have tested positive as well.
Which explains why she was taken. Something daring must be done if I am to save Markovia. Metagene activated. Let's see what we've got.
Seems ticked off. Ticked? Get it?
Young Justice coming to DC Universe real soon. All right, now the second thing. There have been talks of a potential Supergirl movie. There has been someone that has written a script for it, but there has been no casting, no production, and no director. Here's why I think this is not going to work. The reason this isn't going to work is because the one mistake that Warner Brothers is always made with Supergirl, no disrespect to the 1984 Supergirl movie, nor Helen Slater, who will also be a guest at GeekCon, and slightly with the exception of the Supergirl TV series, the one thing that they've always done, they've left Superman out. Now, I'm not just saying that they're wrong for leaving him out only because he's Supergirl's cousin, but because in the comics, when she crash landed on Earth, it was Superman who found her. Now, come on, folks, let's face it. If Supergirl is gonna be in a future DC movie, they dang sure better include Superman. Now, the way I would write the script, it wouldn't be a Supergirl movie. That would probably, if I'm going to do a Supergirl movie, then I better do it after the movie in which she makes her debut. And the reason I say that is because it was Superman who found her, and it was in an issue of Action Comics. And now there were rumors about the second Man of Steel movie. Well, other than that one where they go to the one that's there they've been talking about recently, where he goes to the year 2053, but that's or 2063, one of the two. But that's not what I'm talking about. A few years ago, I think maybe 3 years ago, there was rumors about a Man of Steel movie, and Supergirl was going to be in it, and the villain was going to be Brainiac. Now, here's why that would make sense. It was told in an issue of Action Comics that was written by Jeff Johns and penciled by the amazing Gary Frank. According to Supergirl, all those folks that Superman has gone up against claiming to be Brainiac weren't really him. They were all just creations or drones of Brainiac, and he didn't really go up against Brainiac until this time. And Supergirl knew it. They told him that, it pretty much told him, all those folks you've been going up against, that's not even him. And she would know because she was a teenager at the time that she and Superman were rocketed from Krypton before it exploded. So she would know. So the way I see it is that you write a movie that includes Supergirl. Go with the idea of the Man of Steel, the sequel to Man of Steel. Write that. Make it this year. Don't go to 2053 and make Superman old. I mean, no, that just doesn't work. Just saying. But I would write a script about that. I would write a script based on the Brainiac story arc by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank, and talk about that. Makes sense. Holla if you hear me, Warner Brothers. All right, and the final thing, and this is what I was talking about at the beginning of the show. There has been a guest that has been added to the list of guests that are going to be at GeekCon at the end of next week. And I'm so excited about this guest because I'm a huge fan. Christopher Judge has been added to the list of guests at GeekCon. Now, Judge has a lot of you folks that are much younger than I am. You probably, in your gamers, you probably know him as the voice of Kratos from God of War. And but I know him very well as Teal'c from Stargate SG-1, and I'm trying to get an interview. I want to get an interview with him. I'm also trying to get interviews with other guests like John Wesley Shipp, Helen Slater, and Mick Foley, and maybe Dana Snyder from all the Aqua Teen shows. And for those of y'all who know, Dana Snyder played the voice of Master Shake, and also maybe Chris Sarandon from Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah, trying to get interviews. Really can't wait for GeekCon. It's going to be awesome. All right, that's it for Comically Speaking. Now then, let's get to the comics I bought this week.
Comic books I bought this week.
First up is X-Men Gold number 33. Batman number 52. Green Lanterns number 52. Deadpool number 3. Captain America number 2. Spider-Gwen number 34. Venom number 3. Peter Parker and Spectacular Spider-Man number 307. Astonishing X-Men number 14. Spider-Man Deadpool number 36. Justice League number 5. The Immortal Hulk number 4. X-Men Gold Annual number 2. Infinity Wars #1. Avengers #2. And finally, Champions #4. Alright, that's 16, which brings the total number of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 8,824. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Here's a question again for a free tee for next week's episode of the show. Who created Dragon Ball? Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee in next week's episode of the show. And congratulations to Shara Podney from Lafayette, Louisiana, who won a free tee in this week's episode. Alright, the road to 9,000, it rolls on. And now with those comics, I am 176 away from 9,000. And it's coming, folks. 9,000. And I'm already, well, the folks that I over at Turner Road Designs were actually already have a shirt in mind. Oh, by the way, Turner Road Designs, check us out. We're on Facebook. And GeekCon, I'm telling you, I'm so excited about GeekCon. I'm a little more excited about GeekCon than I am about getting to 9,000 comics, believe it or not. I mean, the list of guests that are going to be at GeekCon is insane. You have John Wesley Shipp, you have Helen Slater, Nick Foley, Dana Snyder, Chris Sarandon, Pruitt Taylor Vince, this stunt double who's a native of Shreveport, Tim J. Smith, and then also just added to the list Christopher Judge. If you even live outside of Louisiana, I mean, I know folks that are actually coming. They're actually driving out, driving to Shreveport who don't even live in Louisiana, coming out of. I've talked to some folks. I even, sort of persuaded some of them to come. Some of them are coming on their own, but I kind of persuaded a few people, and it's gonna be awesome. Oh, by the way, for those of y'all who don't know, GeekCon is at the Shreveport Convention Center in downtown Shreveport. It's August the 17th through the 19th. A lot of folks are going to be coming to the one on the 18th, which is I'm one of them. Just bought my ticket last week. Can't wait. Just can't wait. Oh, and this is the third episode that I've done inside the Uncharacteristic Studios. Uncharacteristic Studios is actually inside my house. And I'm really enjoying this new direction. I mean, this new chapter with the show. I mean, this is incredible, and I want to thank. I just want to take this time to thank everyone that I've done, all the comic book stores that I've done the show at. I want to thank the family of the late great Clint Thomas for allowing me to do the show at the first Clint's, the original Clint's Comics location. I want to thank my good friend Claire Chandler for allowing me to do the show at both the original location and the most previous location in Monroe. And I also want to thank James and Jennifer Gunner for allowing me to do the show over at Southern Realms. But who knows? I may come back to those. I may do special episodes at Southern Realms, and also also at and I did a Comic Girl Show Extra a few months earlier this year at Infinity Comics and Collectibles. I want to thank Wayne Harris and Will Stroud for allowing me to do that. And there's also a new store that just opened in Monroe, right on the foot of the Louisville Bridge, called Villains Comics and Collectibles. I just found out about this yesterday, and let me tell you, if I'm ever in the area, I will come by. I guarantee it. But the comics community That's something that I hold very dear to my heart. Anyone that owns a comic book store, all comic book stores, all the customers that go there, we're part of a community. And that's a bond that does not need to be broken. I mean, I know a lot of us have differences about us. A lot of us have scruples and whatever, but at the end of the day, we're a community. We're one. All right, but anyway, as far as the studio goes, if y'all have any concerns that y'all want to, well, not any concerns, but if y'all have any, just let me know what y'all think about Uncharacteristic Studios. If y'all have any, if y'all have anything that y'all want me to do that y'all think that's going to make the show better, please let me know. I mean, I have a few things in mind, but it doesn't hurt to get input from other folks. All right, I'm Victor Dudley on the Comic Hero. I'll see you next week for episode 224. So until then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero.